Monday. I hope everybody's having a great week, or excuse me, a great start to the week. So I'm going to go straight into it, you guys. We have some great things that are going to be happening right now with a lot of pairs in the market. We're going to see a lot of retracements and a lot of things that are going to be moving into another direction throughout this next month. So that being said, we're going to break it down and go into section per section. And I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin, I'm going to be talking about the US dollar, I'm going to be talking about how the market is going to be transitioning into another section. So moving into it, I also have another thing I want to show you guys today. It's about emotional trauma. And this trauma faculty is what is driven to the market areas and precision of markets. So as you can see here, the US dollar, Japanese yen, we had on the Discord earlier, I put on here market update. USD Japanese is forming a stop hunt to catch buyers before dropping price, establish a second entry. So what I meant by that, you guys, is that we can see that price has definitely been showing a lot of liquidity up to the upside here, moving price from one area and then dropping it into a section of liquidity. So this is a lot of the time where a lot of people want to get back into this trade thinking it's going to be going long. So we can call this essentially a bullish breakout. So a lot of people essentially were going to be going into this higher direction. So we have a lot of scalpers, scalping positions are going buys. We have breakout traders going long as well. And I'm going to show you guys how this works and mostly how a lot of people lose a lot of money when they're trading the wrong side of the market or they have a wrong outlook. So it happens a lot, you guys, especially with a lot of liquidity providers, especially market makers and ECNs, how they will induce a lot of buyers for a short period of time. We talked about that in previous live streams, how basically market price will then be consolidating in a certain area for a time. So we can see that this date range between this consolidation was about approximately 11 days before you had a breakout to the high, which then had a lot of people had their pending orders essentially for a bullish breakout around in this area. So a lot of these orders are being filled at this time, where this means a lot of orders are being controlled, right, by the market makers, which we understand that market makers can see pending orders, they can see stop losses. So that's how they move and maneuver the market and have these precisions in different aspects to trade inside the market. So what we want to see now is that if the market decides to move to the high, trap these buyers, right? Because we also have to understand that there is an average daily range, and also the market cannot proceed farther than their limit exposure throughout the month as well. So if you look at price, a lot of people's probably take profits are probably at areas above here, about 11,350, 11,500, and so forth. So the thing is that they're not essentially going to allow that the take profits be hit. All they're doing is inducing a lot of buyers to get trapped in this area, trap liquidity on a Monday, because we know Mondays are usually liquidity days where they trap the market. They go the opposite direction of trend for the rest of the week. And then they shoot price down, which then we're probably going to see a downward spike. And then this is where a lot of traders are going to be stopped out, because a lot of traders basically were buying and now they're getting hit to the bottom side. Okay, so that's why I put a short position available, you guys. And also, reason being, that's the reason why earlier I put market stop hunts for US dollar cross pairs are at a very high percentage. Reason for stop hunts are a very high percentage right now. So as we can see, that was last night, which then came to fruition today. So we can see that stop hunt was at a highly percentage that I could tell that the market was definitely going to trap more buyers before they shoot price the opposite way. So that being said, the reason why we took that short position is because we want to see downfall out of this liquidity area, this zone, to push liquidity from one area of the market down to another area of the market to retest previous lows. So this is just an analysis that I like to use, you guys, especially when I'm doing swing trading, or I'm counter day trading, or I'm just intraday trading as well. I like to catch that high of the day. That's where we can be able to get a lot of profits, right? If we catch the high of the day, we can have limited exposure on our capital. We don't have to be frustrated or have fear, if we have that determining factor on moving forward. So it's really awesome information when it comes to this, and I wanted to show you guys this because it's very, very key to be able to understand the determining factors on why the market does manipulate, why the market does have these stop hunts, why the market does decide to have these traps, is because they have to make money, right? They're a business just like we are speculation investors trying to make money to obviously, you know, live a prosperous life or just to be able to pay the bills as well. So when we come into this example, I wanted to show you guys this life-changing concept that I was using and I still use to this day that has extremely helped me with trading and obviously having a lot of profits. So I'm going to go straight into it, and I'm so glad to see you guys today. So I came into this thing where from this trader online, and he taught this essentially this is energy vibrational frequency that the human mind produces, right? It's called the collective trauma response. So this trauma response is essentially what we use to determine what we want and how we able to cope with trauma, despair, and so forth, right? Devastation. So essentially, if someone have this achievement of success, if we move forward, oops, sorry guys, it looks like I disconnected for a second. Now I'm back on. So the phases of collective trauma response, right? This is a huge essential play. This is 1 to 3 day phase, right? And I wanted to show you guys on a Bitcoin chart on how essentially this is playing out and how the market is actually doing this right now. So I'm going to go straight into it and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean. So, oops, a little lag there. So we can see that prices shot up to the high. We had, right, the consolidation, market consolidation, the honeymoon phase right here, which then broke price to the high, trapped a lot of these buyers, right, for the breakout, and then got into the illusion that the market price was going to keep on shooting higher. Then we had that huge drop back to the downside to retest the psychological level, which was 37.50, right? Since we saw 37.50, we see a little retrace back to the highs, and then we can definitely see that market price will then consolidate back to the downside and retest these previous lows, which then we'll see the psychological level be determined as another area of support. So if we map out this graph, essentially we can see that a lot of the same faculties and structures are placed through these trauma correlations on how the mind works. And then the mind is definitely the same element on how we trade, right? Because we're trading market maker psychology movement, right? Market maker psychology movement is basically how the structure of the algorithm is set based on human market behavior. So we're going to look back into this phase, and we took a position here. Our position could have been hit out. Actually, we had an earlier trade on this on the BTC available for you guys in Discord. We had a stop hunt. We had a little bit of a high spike to the high, so we're definitely going to have to re-enter if price decided to hit this low. So we can see that price has definitely hit this area for the stop loss. So when we see price move back into this fluctuation area, right, we can see stop hunts to the high, and then we're going to start to see market price move back down into continuation of this downtrend. And this is where we can be able to make some really good profits, you guys, because then now if we find the structure of the market, then we can be able to discipline ourselves to know how price is going to move from here on out. So when we want to look for right now, moving into consolidation or moving out of consolidation, we want to look for these highs. So we can see right now this high, we can look at the 15-minute chart, and we can see that this is a high. We can already see right now that the market is consolidating. We can see that price is definitely going to be moving back to the downside. Momentum is pushing back to the downside. So we're definitely going to look for another short position, re-enter, get back into this position, and then move farther down and get some more profits, right? Because sometimes when your entry, right, is wrong, essentially it's not, you're not going the wrong direction. You don't want to change your strategy. You just want to be more confident, and you have to understand that not every stop loss, not every target is going to be hit, but it's always about being flexible. So if we look into this this deciding factor, we can see that this was a wedge breakout. So this is a false wedge breakout. So basically what we're seeing is a wedge being formed in this area. Then we had a breakout, consolidation, traders were trapped in this area, and then we're going to see probably an M formation. So this is going to be a hit to the low, hit back to the high, and then re-continue with that downwards trend. And then this is where we're going to have some maximum profit. So that's why in the Discord I told you guys that yesterday, I usually don't look for to take these entries until Tuesday, because essentially I'm like, you're kind of waiting for the first raindrop to hit, or trying to find where the first raindrop's going to hit, right? You're going to go crazy. So when you find determining factors like the weekly high or weekly low, it happens usually later on in the week. So this was Sunday, trading on Sunday. So particularly with this trade, when I got into this position, I knew the market was going to go down, but I didn't take into consideration the spike to the high, which then obviously stopped us out. So then when I'm looking for another position to go back into the direction I'm going, I can now formulate a price, because now Monday is being formed. I can look into Tuesday, so now I know the trend is going to continue into a certain way throughout the week. So we're looking for these breakouts, or for instance, these market makers, to be able to trap these sellers, or excuse me, to trap these buyers. This is a perfect area and a zone to get back into the market and trade to make some more profit. So this is just a little analysis on why I believe price is going to be moving into the near future to the downside. This is usually a 1 to 3 today market breakout, but it can also be 1 to 3 weeks as well. So we can see here that this is possibly going to be a 1 to 3 week type of ordeal, where market phase is going to recover, going to consolidate to the low, make that peak formation at that 3,500 area, where then we'll be able to then make buys and sells, knowing that market structure is kind of like harmonics, right? Once you know the ABCD pattern and the extensions, you're able to allow yourself to define where price is going to go, because you have formulated a structure where price is definitely, or has a high probability where price is going to be going. So once you find that structure, once you allow yourself to find an element, or that basically a formulation of price, then you can be able to use the scalping, using these intraday trading strategies to be able to buy and sell, knowing the formulation, right? Because without knowing structure, you're basically gambling at one point, because you're not being able to divinely see things for what it is, and you're really just trading out of greed and trading out of non-realistic trading strategy. So this is what I essentially am seeing with Bitcoin as of right now. I'm going to be doing an update on Bitcoin with this trade, as I will be back into the this short position, and I'll also do a market health update with this trade as well. You can also see that Ethereum is doing the same thing as well. You can see price is moving to the downside, consolidation of price, probably going to move down to this 125 area, which then we're going to see that consolidation one more time, and I'll map it out for you guys. So we can see that price is consolidated, hit the highs, hit the lows, consolidate, move back down, consolidate price, and then start to have that recovery phase. And this is where price will definitely be moving, or in my opinion, will be moving into the near future. We can also see that price is definitely showing some sort of bearish retracement right now. As we can see, if we look at price at a 30-minute chart, we can see price is definitely moving to the lows as well. So this is something that I looked into, and I've been studying when I study human psychology and basically neuroscience as well. When we combine these elements, these faculties into fruition, we're able to determine each of these elements and moves based off human psychology or human behavior. So the heroic phase, when you lose money in the market, fear, frustration, resentment, lack of confidence in building, right? This is basically when we're trading and we have that devastation period, right? So when this happens, the instantly sudden impact, many people are filled with hormones and sense of urgency to respond, helpers rush in, right? So this is what we do subconsciously in our minds to be able to trade in the markets. We're not essentially trading our paradigm or trading our trading strategy. We're trading our mental thoughts, right? Our basically our fight or flight action moves. So the heroic phase, when you lose money in the market, you have that fear and frustration, resentment, lack of confidence. That's what also gets people to do revenge trading. That's what also people to take trades that they're not even seeing the outcome of it. They're just trading because they want to make back the capital they lost, right? That's why if you essentially look at the percentage of people losing money over time, right, it's 90% of their accounts are lost in 90 days because of these elements, because of these psychological aspects, right, that are determining factors that the market always uses and will always use to be able to, because it's a profitable way of deciding where market's going to go. They will then reboost this type of ideology into the markets. So when we're having these different things, right, the disillusionment phase, right, post loss or reflection in trades, right, post aggression and frustration phase. It's like, oh man, I should have gone in that trade. Like I should have gone in that trade because that trade was good. I didn't pull the trigger, right? And then you get into late or you get into early, and then you're out of the trade once again, and then you're obviously just trading out of a wrong frequency. Now you're trading out of greed, you're trading out of fear, you're trading out of resentment, you're trading out of fear or frustration. which then causes a lot of traders to lose a lot of money, right? So this phase acknowledge what happened, not just with words, but in our bodies, minds, hearts, and spirits, right? On some point, survivors begin to realize there's nothing that they physically do to change the fact of the trauma occurred, right? So we obviously just have to accept the reality that if we trade, right, this position, and I'll go back into it, if we trade a position like this, right, people that were shorting right here, right, automatically got out of the trade, right? They got stopped out, right? Going into high, they're like, oh man, I knew Bitcoin was going higher, right? We had in the Discord earlier last week, I told you guys that Bitcoin was definitely going to break to the highs, which it did. Right here in Ethereum as well, I put this on the Discord as well, that price was going to break to the highs. So we had those earlier. So right, Ethereum target 160, right? $160. You had a breakout. We also had a breakout, a target for 4,000, right? So we had both of these entries hit, right? This was on last Wednesday. So if we saw the consolidation, right, we had that hit, right, to 160. We had also that hit to 4,000, right? So this is something that I wanted to show you guys and how I've been able to have these very key elemental factors when it comes to trading positions when I'm looking at the market and so forth. So when we're also looking for different phases in the market, right? Different phases happen at different times. So when we're looking for different phases in the market, we have to take into consideration the ADR, right? Average daily range, which is essentially one of the biggest market structures in general, right? So ADR is one of the biggest ways we can define trend or momentum or move, right? So define trend and move is basically based off your ADR, average daily range. So when we're looking for these different elements and different structures and so forth, we want to be able to define if price is going to move into a certain area, a certain defining structure, we're going to be able to allow ourselves to be patient before we get into a position, right? Just like how we had in these positions earlier when we had these crypto positions, right? A lot of people were looking at these positions here. We had the BTC right last week on that long position at 936, and the target was at 4,000, as well as the ETH, right? 150 exit, right? So we had that last Wednesday, right? So when we look at price, when we had this area at this time, this consolidation was definitely hit on both areas, right? When we hit that 4,000. But the reason why I didn't have my target a little higher is because I took into consideration the market could have a transition back into a shorting position, but I didn't want to allow myself to be feared by not taking the initial breakout, because I knew that the possibilities of this consolidation area was definitely going to break to a higher point, because we still had higher momentum here, right? So when we have higher momentum here, if we put into an indicator, we can put an EMA, we can put an SMA, it doesn't really matter. So we put an EMA, right? We put an EMA right here. We can see that price is definitely, whoops. Expensive moving average, perfect. So when we put into price in consideration, right, these different elements, now we can be able to define where price is going to be moving into the near future, right? So I saw that breakout because I saw that the 50 EMA was tugging like this in this area. So I saw that support. So I was like, okay, definitely going to have a breakout to the upside, but I don't see it continuing in that direction. I just see it having a limited factor as of right now, where price is definitely going to break to the upside, but not necessarily going to have a full break and continuation to the upside, right? So my analogy was complete when I saw also, when I looked at the daily chart, I saw a structure basically test these previous highs once again. Once I saw these elements and saw market price touch previous highs and structures, I knew that price was going to move back to the downside, and I want to be able to be considerate of my trading strategy that is possibly not going to break this area as of right now. So the thing about breaking out of barriers or consolidation is that you need a lot of time, right? It's not going to all happen at once. It's not going to just continue out of nowhere and just keep on breaking and move forward, right? You need a lot of pressure. You need a lot of buying or selling pressure at that time. And I didn't believe that we had the buying and selling pressure at that time to get into that bullish breakout to the upside to retest these higher levels. I believe that if we were to retest this high, which we did have that available, then we are able to then trade lower, right? And then build up that liquidity again before we then possibly see a breakout. So it's basically seeing times where price goes up, goes down, comes back up, retests that high, then we have that consolidation, breaks price down, then price comes back up, retest that high one more time. Because like we talked about, market structure loves to work off daily highs, weekly lows, and also weekly highs as well. So market structure is really huge when we're trading in these elements, in these faculties. Structure. So market structure is definitely something that we're looking to do when we're looking for elements to be able to continue with the trend or to be able to define where price is going to be moving in the near future. So as we can see here, that this trauma and disaster period, so I'm just going to go back into this to show you guys a little bit more of this on where I can see in the 4-hour chart is more seeable, right? So we can see that this consolidation to the high and to the low, we're going to have a break to the downside, not break previous lows because it's going to definitely have this as a peak formation, right? This is an inverse head and shoulders. We're essentially not going to break this area. So we're going to definitely keep that as a support area. That's why I have our take profit at this 3,500 area and not at any lower level, because I also believe that we have another structure that is support right now, that the support will definitely have levels of consolidation. So also, you guys, if I'm not able to see your guys' questions, I do have the comments up right now, so maybe something might be wrong with Restream, so bear with me with that. I apologize, and if you guys have any other questions after this live stream, please feel free to put into the Discord as well. Sometimes it has a hard time rebooting, or has some time needs some time to reboot, but it will come into I will be able to see your guys' comments really soon. So I'm just gonna go into it, and then if once the comments start to arrive on my side, I'll be able to show you guys and answer any of your guys' questions at this time. So this is my analysis for Bitcoin, for Ethereum as of right now. I also have these as well onto the Discord as well with these signals available for you guys, and I'm gonna also do a market health update with price in general. So we're gonna go into currencies as of right now. And the thing about currency right now, with the euro dollar and as well as anything paired with the US dollar, I'm looking for a stop hunt. So as you can see, that price has been consolidating in this area as of right now, which we probably are going to definitely see a breakout. But before we see that breakout, you could possibly see a nice break to the downside, because as we can see, we're hitting highs right here. We have wicks and formations that are structured that are not showing a determining breakout section. We can just see it's trapping and a lot of sellers and buyers in this area, building up pressure. So before we see this breakout, I want to see a move to the downside before I get back into this position. I also put that in the Discord as well, so you guys will see my hypothesis on where that is. So I believe that price will then retrace to the downside, maybe during Tokyo session today, with a consolidation, maybe 30 to 80 pips. And then after we see that consolidation, that trap, and then we could probably see a breakout to the upside, where then we'll definitely be able to take some entries. The reason why I didn't do this with Great Britain Pound is because Great Britain Pound is a little more stronger. I've seen that the peak formation was already formed here, so I definitely see more value with definitely a spike to the upside. I don't see a lot of downwards in this at this area, so that's why I just wanted to continue with this trend instead of retrace as well right now, because I can see that a lot of momentum with price is definitely not showing as of right now. The downside is more showing upside momentum. So this is something that I wanted to show you guys. It's really important in trading as well. It's just knowing your human psychology, knowing how to be able to control your emotions, right? Because what happens is that if you can't control your own emotions, the market will use that against you, right? They will use that to make money off you. That's why they give you 100 to 1 leverage, 50 to 1 leverage, right? 1,000 to 1 leverage, just because they know at the end of the day, most traders aren't psychologically prepared for the transition from a demo account to a real account, right? People can make thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars on a demo account, but it doesn't matter because it's not essentially real money. What you have to do is that when you get into the transition of a real account, you now have the attachment to money, right? Attachment to this belief of money. And then that's what happens to a lot of traders, where then they get into this fear, they get into like this anxiousness of losing, right? So then they want to just revenge trade, and then also they get into this greed factor, right? They want to just make money. They feel like every position that they take, they want to make $100,000 out of, which essentially is not true, you guys. You can't do that all the time. That's why we have to have market strategies. We have to have market statistics. We have to have back testing. We have to have basically a defined work ethic, right, that will be able to allow us to trade at a very prosperous way and a very probable way as well. So this is what happened to me, you know, obviously through my determining, through my journey as trading, right? Going from losing accounts, you know, left and right, and then to be able to sustain, you know, over time, just be able to grow an account over time and consistently be able to use that without blowing it, was using these factors of human psychology and human behavior, right? So this is where I wanted to show you guys how huge and how important it is to be able to trade without having these fears and anxieties, because it does play a huge role in anything in life, right? It could be your job, it could be your relationship with your wife or your husband or whatever. If you were able to control the emotions of the mind, then you're able to make a lot more prosperous and better choices in your field of work, right? And particularly we're talking about trading at this time. So as we can see here, we use these M and W formations. Price is definitely making this M formation where we're not essentially, this is one thing and one reason why I'm not going to be going short on this M formation, okay? And I wanted to talk to you guys about why the possibilities of this information is not going to be a short after we hit this highs, because whenever we have found a peak formation low, right? A peak formation low is essentially the reverse of price from one area to the next, right? So this is a peak formation, right? This is essentially, we made a peak formation. What a peak formation is the end of one trend going into another trend, right? So as we can see, we've been on a bearish trend, and I'll show you guys in plenty other markets that this is very, very credible, right? So a peak formation low is essentially when price makes a peak formation like a mountaintop and then it removes price. This is where you don't want to be able to trade M and W formations, when you want to go opposite of that trend. So we know that M formations is used to make a bullish or a bearish, reversal, right? So M formation here, right? But we know now that since peak formation is showing a validation that trend is now we're not into a bearish trend anymore, we're going into a bullish trend. I'm not going to take this bearish breakout because we can just see higher highs and move back into higher formations. What I want to see is how I can see the retracements, where I can be able to buy, because now I have the configuration that price is going to be moving higher. So then I want to find the lowest low of the day, the week, so I can be able to trade and hold those positions for a longer period of time, which is definitely a great reason why we're in these markets as of right now. So this is my hypothesis right now for, you know, going into Great Britain pound, going into the euro dollar as well. We can see that there's a transition in price. We can see that breakouts are going to be occurring in March. Definitely in March, we're going to see a lot of breakouts to the high. We're going to see this area of consolidation be retested. We can also see in the daily chart, if we go into the daily chart for the euro dollar, right, we can see that W formation already forming right here with a second leg right here. We can see that continuation of a bullish momentum breakout soon enough after we see that maybe possibly one more retrace to the downside. And this is where we're going to be able to have some huge opportunities, because it's all leeway right now. We're not in consolidation anymore. We're not looking to just buy and sell. We can be able to hold our positions for longer periods of time because the market is moving into one direction. And what we know now is that banks and institutions move fast in the direction they want to go, right? So 92% of the volume is traded by these banks and institutions. So if they want to drive price quickly, we're able to get on the banyard and be able to go forth and be able to trade and be able to prosper by having the positions open. Just think of it like this: if you're essentially, there's sharks, right, in the sea, right? These sharks always have little fish around them, right? They have fish swimming basically beneath them at all times, right? The reason why they do that is because they know if they were just to swim with the sharks, instead of trying to fight where the sharks are, but swim with them, they can get all the leftovers, right? Because the shark goes and gets a huge meal, but the shark is sloppy, right? He has a bunch of leftover bits and particles, right? It left in the ocean. What does a fish do when that happens, right? They go and they swim and they get those little particles, right? So they don't even have to be predators. They can just live with the sharks to be able to eat and survive, right? So we can use the same analogy when it comes to trading, right? If we can find where the banks and institutions are going, if we can find where the market makers are looking to drive price, then we can just be like those little fish, right? And if you are, obviously a hedge fund or an institutional trader and you have hundreds of millions of dollars, you're riding a little bit higher than the average speculation investor, but you're still riding that wave, right? You're still riding the wave, and that's where a lot of prosperity and a lot of profits come from, when we're not resisting how the sharks move the market, but just allowing it and moving forward with it. So that's a huge part of transitions in general and where price is moving into the near future. That's definitely another thing I wanted to talk about, you guys, is having the confidence, right? So we can see now that price is definitely moving to the high. You can see that price consolidation is definitely right here. So what we want to see out of this area is retrace to the downside, and then before we see it move back up. So I'm going to actually erase some of these things because it is a little bit real drawing this time. So it can see that prices definitely can possibly break, or it can keep on continuation. So if I do see this continuation, you guys, with price, I'm going to definitely putting in the Discord a signal for the euro dollar, as we can see that price consolidation could definitely be breaking out. But I do think we're going to end this month, since we only have a couple more trading days in this month. In this consolidation, I do believe that price is going to be moving down to the downside before it moves up. But this is just obviously my hypothesis. I really don't know, right? The market is unique in its own way. We just have, all we are as speculation investors is trying to find an edge in the market using these strategies and this wisdom that we've been able to accumulate, right? To be able to find these edges, to be able to profit, over time. So when we're looking for these positions, especially when we're looking at the average daily range and the average monthly range, we can see that consolidation is definitely not looking like it wants to break out of this area. It definitely looks like it wants to close in this area, start the new month, right? Which then cycles in a whole nother range that the market makers can now apply. So then now the market makers can just do 3 levels of high to basically trap and 3 levels of rise, to basically stop out all these positions that were earlier and these trailing stops with a lot of positions. So really fascinating stuff, you guys. This is why I do believe we're going to have a nice breakout to the upside with the euro dollar in the near future. We're definitely going to have a breakout with the Great Britain pound dollar. I definitely want to see a retracement to the downside here, as we can see price moving from one end to back to these lower levels, where price is definitely consolidating and then moving to these lower levels. So this is huge market stop hunt. We obviously got in at that perfect entry, you guys. I put that also in the Discord for you guys as well, so you guys have that available. So it's really, really fascinating stuff, you guys. This is honestly one of the best time in the markets to trade. This is honestly one of the greatest times to be able to make a lot of capital, and hopefully you guys are getting a lot of information out of these live streams. And I apologize once again for the comment section. I know that it's just for some reason it's not showing your guys' comments. I could refresh it, but if you guys do have any comments, and feel free to put in the Discord as well. And today's going to be mostly just me updating you guys on where price is going to be moving and where we're going to be looking to go into the near future. So we're going to go into gold at this time, you guys. I had a position at gold earlier, which then we took. I also had that in the Discord as well. So if you guys were to see that, I put that also at short position at basically 1330.61. Our target was 1325, so a $5 take profit. We can see that we did that yesterday, where then price then hit to the low, which then obviously we had a nice little transition from that 13 high to down to that 13 low. So this is where we're able to find price. And also I did give you guys a factor where price is looking to move into the near future, where I put a validation of where price consolidation, where we want to see that retest zone, and that retest zone is between where we saw price here, where price was at this high. So when we can already see that price already has made that move to the downside, where we can see consolidation at this low. So we definitely can see that this buy area, right, is going to be moved. I want to wait a little longer before I get into. I can see that this is an M formation. This is the second leg. We can probably see one more retracement to the downside before we see a break to the high. So I'm definitely waiting for that nice retracement to the high before I get back into my entry with gold, which then will be a continuation of trend to hit that 1375 take profit as we are establishing moving forward. So going into treasury bonds, we can see that price is definitely moving to the downside. We have that spike to the high, which in price was propped up for a little time. We can see that move to the high, spike. We see that M formation being formed right here. Second leg a little lower, and then we can see that transition to the downside. So now that we can see treasury bonds, right, moving back to the downside, this is definitely an integration in a very highly or it's a great factor, because now we can see that gold is definitely making this lower low. We can definitely see price is going to be moving to the upside once again, especially if treasury bonds decide to keep on falling throughout this next month as well. So if that has, then we also can see the euro dollar breaking out, which definitely looks like it wants to break out of this area really quickly. And we can also see Great Britain pound, where price is definitely going to break out as well. So this is why I saw that the USD/JPY was definitely at a stop hunt to the high, because I can see that treasury bonds was still showing lower momentum and lower lows coming into play. So I knew that market price was definitely going into a lower levels. So this is where I was able to factor a lot of these things. And the thing about USD CAD as well, this is a huge one for a lot of people, because a lot of people got stopped out in this position earlier, where they saw that USD CAD was having this inverse head and shoulders, where then a lot of people were buying in this area, where they saw a flag pattern, and then they think that price is going to trap and move back up higher. But the possibilities of it moving up higher is very low, minimum. We're definitely going to see a market price move back to the downside with the USD CAD. We're not going to probably see a fruition of market price moving up to the highs. That's why I didn't take this trade, you guys, earlier, because USD CAD definitely has a little bit more flexibility, where it's a little more tricky when it comes to these plays, where I saw that a lot of people were saying that, oh, this is structure, this is a head, it's going to come back up into this highs, and this is where a lot of people were getting their positions taken out, because a lot of people's stop losses are hit here. So I think we're just going to keep on continuing with the downside as of USD CAD as of right now, moving into lower levels moving forward. So this is my analysis, you guys, for the day. I'm sorry, you guys, once again for the comments section. I definitely have to make sure that that's up during tomorrow's live stream. I definitely will answer any of you guys' questions in the Discord moving forward. Hope you guys got a lot of information out of today's live stream. This is just an update with gold, US dollar, Great Britain pound, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and treasury bonds moving forward. So I will be in the Discord if you guys have any questions. I hope you guys had a great day, and I will have also some signals as well that I will be reconfiguring if price moves into the direction that we talked about in this stream. I hope you guys have a good one. Talk to you soon. Bye.